Hey guys, CG Music here, and as seen in the title, I am going to be talking about my health issues. Not mental health. I'll do another video on mental health maybe in a month or so when I'm better, but yeah. So for the past year and a half I have been experiencing some extreme abdominal pain. It started when I was still in TAFE doing my beauty course, and yeah, I just remember waking up one day and I had some really bad pains, and I'm like, no, I'll stay home and I'll see how it goes. And it got worse and worse and worse, and mum ended up taking me to the doctors, and I was vomiting because I was in so much pain. I was crying because I didn't know what was wrong. We got into the doctors and he said it might be my appendix. Which you all know, if it gets to the point it explodes, it's not good for your body, so you got to get it removed. So I went to the hospital, the emergency department. I was crying, I was vomiting, and I have to say the nurses at the front weren't very helpful. I mean, they were lovely, but I don't know, I just didn't feel like I was treated like I was serious. I got into the doctors to get a bed at the ER emergency room, yeah, and they asked me, are you on your period? And I was, and they said, is it like normal period pain? And I thought, here we go, because I've heard stories of girls going and women going into the emergency rooms and doctors just brushing it off because it could be classified as period pain. But I was like, no, I've never experienced pain this bad, that I am throwing up, that I'm being sick. And they ran all the tests, blood tests, pee test, and everything. They didn't have a ultrasound person because the ultrasound person left at 4, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, which I find ridiculous. They should have a 24-hour thing. But yeah, and everything came back negative. It wasn't my appendix, it wasn't my kidneys. They tested and everything, and they basically just gave me strong painkillers and sent me home. Now, I experienced really bad pains like that every time of the month it was. I'm still petrified of getting my period because I get extremely bad pains. And then it started to happen when it wasn't that time of month, and I was like, this is weird. And so one time I got bad pains again that year. I think it was about 4 to 5 months later. It was about 12 o'clock at night. I started vomiting and I was like, Mum, no, it's happening again. Please take me to the emergency room. And so I went to the emergency room. Now this time it was quicker. We got into the room quicker, I'm pretty sure. But the nurse that I got in the emergency room was a cow. She was so rude to me. She asked me about my previous medical history, and I was telling her, but I was in pain, so I was just kept saying I'm in pain. She's like, yeah, just tell me your medical history. And I was trying, and then I was thinking to myself, I've been in here, I was born at this hospital. I've never been to any other hospital but this. Shouldn't you have some sort of record of what I have had? And I told her, and then I mentioned something about my depression, and she said, oh, well, that should have been on your medical history. You should have told me this, you should have told me this and that. And she was being so rude, and I started crying. She didn't care, and so she went off and the doctor came in, and we did the same tests as the first time. I had a drip in my hand because, oh no, the first time was in my hand because I hadn't drunk enough water. The second time was in my arm, and when she went to pull the plastic thing that they leave in your arm just in case I have to take more blood, she pulled it out, and because she was arguing with the doctor for some reason, she put an alcohol wipe on the wound. She put an alcohol wipe on there. You're meant to put a tissue, a cotton bud. I wanted to scream. It hurt so much because it's alcohol in an open wound. There wasn't blood spurting out anywhere. It's just like to hold it on there, and it hurt so much. And my body reaction every time that plastic thing comes out, I vomit. It's not fun. I told her that I'm gonna vomit, and I told her, I was like, I'm gonna be sick, and she's like, yeah. And I'm like, no, you don't understand, I'm gonna be sick. So Mum grabbed my sick bag that I had previously that she hadn't thrown out, and I've just vomited into it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? If I hadn't had the vomit bag, I would have vomited all over myself. And I felt so disrespected. She didn't care about me. I know it was night shift, but come on. So that happened. But one thing that I did miss when we were trying to figure out what was wrong with me the first time, after I'd been to the hospital, I went and I had an ultrasound. Now, the ultrasound lady, I just haven't had really good experiences with health workers. Because it was in so much pain, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I could barely drink any water. So I went to get an ultrasound, and they did the abdominal one. And she's like, oh, you haven't drunk enough water, I can barely see anything in here, we're gonna have to do an internal one. Now, for those of you who don't know what an internal ultrasound is, just think of the word. I'm a female and I need to do an internal ultrasound. Yes. It was not pleasant. It was not comfortable. I was still on my period, and I asked if that was alright. She's like, yeah. And so with that, we found out that I have POCS, which is polyovary cystic syndrome, which means I have little follicles or cysts in my ovaries. Now that comes with a lot of other things, such as it can cause infertility, but I have been crossed off that, so that doesn't cause it. It can cause type 2 diabetes, which I'm currently on medication for to help settle it down. And it can cause moodiness and all these other things. It is a chronic condition, so it's not something that I can get rid of. They can remove the cysts, but they will most likely 100% come back. But yeah. So basically, at the end of that second hospital trip, they gave me medication, they sent me on their way, they were like, we don't know what's wrong with you. And at this time, I was frustrated. I was so upset. I was like, I'm petrified for that time of the month because I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to be in pain? Am I not going to be in pain? And for each time, I just took strong pain meds. I felt sick. I didn't vomit or anything, but I was just in so much pain. And then I swapped doctors. The doctor that I went to, like my normal GP, just stopped bulk billing, and I can't pay $60 a visit every single time I go and see them. So I went to a new doctor, a female doctor, and I told her everything that was going on, and she was the one that put me on the medication for POCS. To help with manage my weight and diabetes and everything like that, to help me not get diabetes. It's like a preventative thing. She listened to everything I said. I said I was on the waiting list already to see a gynecologist to see what was going on, to see if we can help me in any way. And she said, well, if you've already got the thing saying you're on the waiting list, I can't do anything about it, but we'll just keep checking on it and everything. And I'd lost the letter saying that I was on the waiting list, but I wasn't a priority. And I got really upset when I got that letter saying I wasn't a priority. But yeah, fast forward to 4 weeks ago, I think about 3 weeks ago. I had my period. It was longer than normal. I was on my 8th day, going strong. And I woke up with really bad pains. Bad pains, like vomiting bad pains again. And I was like, here we go again. Called in sick to work, went to the doctors, started crying in the doctor's office. And she's like, look, go and have an ultrasound, and then if the pain gets worse, go to the hospital. I will write you something there. So I went and I had an ultrasound, and the ultrasound guy said we have to do an internal one to have a look at everything to see if the cysts have popped, because of how much pain I was in, they thought one of the cysts in my ovaries had popped. And so I had a guy, the first guy, ultrasound guy, doing internal ultrasound, which was a bit awkward, but he's a professional, so I just went with it. He said he can't see anything, but he'll send the results to my GP and I'll go in the next day. So I went in the next day. I didn't go to hospital that night. I went in the next day and she said they don't look like they've popped, but you have one that is 34 millimeters that we want to keep an eye on. So there was obviously quite a big cyst in my left ovary. Now, by this time I was in excruciating pain. Mum came home early for work because the doctor said you need to go to the emergency department. Went into the emergency department. It was a Wednesday at 5 o'clock and it was packed. I waited 2 hours in the emergency department, dry heaving, crying. Everyone was looking at me. I was like, can you not? Literally, I'm in so much pain. Can no one look at me right now? Then when I finally was walking to inside the emergency department to get a bed, I almost fainted because I was in pain. I had a headache from crying. They had to get me a wheelchair to wheel me to the bed. And I said, is it been busy? She's like, yes, we've had 5 broken arms, 2 split eyebrows, and we've had 2 ambulances come in. And I was like, fair enough, fair enough. And then I finally got to the bed. They'd already given me some endone, which is really strong painkillers, in the waiting room because I was in so much pain. And then finally they gave me another endone in the emergency room because the first one hadn't worked. They're like, look, we'll give you another one. That's as much as we can give you. I did all the tests again. And then the doctor, this doctor really irritated me because she looked like she wanted to just rush me out of the hospital. She was asking me all these questions, basically, there's a wall there, basically saying that it's because I'm on my period. And I was like, no, seriously, my doctor thinks that I might have this thing called endometriosis. And then she stopped. She's like, oh, maybe. And I was like, look, I'm on the waiting list to see a gynecologist at this hospital. I've been on the waiting list for a year. They think it's the endometriosis or a pop cyst. And she was surprised at how much I knew. And I was surprised at how much she didn't know, because I didn't want to be rushed. I was in pain. I want to know what's going on, but I was sick. I was sick of people telling me, we don't know what's wrong with you. I was in pain. I was in pain and I wanted someone to tell me what was going on. But no one was. Everyone was saying it was because I was on my period. And I was like, no, I know my body. I know period pain. I've had my period since I was 12. It has been 8 years. I know what that feels like. And I know that this pain is worse. So she said, look, we've got a gyno team on at the moment. They're helping with some midwife stuff at the moment, but we will get a message and see if they can come down and have a look at you. And I was like, thank you. And she kind of looked a bit annoyed. And yeah, and then the nurses are lovely though. I have to give props to the nurses that looked after me throughout this week, because they were just amazing. And when the nurse came back in after the doctor, I was crying again. And she's like, you okay? And I was like, no, the endone didn't work. I am in so much pain right now. And so they ended up giving me morphine. I've never had morphine before, but I was in that much pain. And so the morphine basically put me to sleep, and I woke up and it was like 2 in the morning, and the nurse came in and she said, look, the gyno teams are still busy. They've had something wrong with like one of the babies being born or something. And I was like, look, the morphine's worked. I'm feeling fine. I just want to go home. I'd been there for, what was it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. I'd been there for about 9 hours and I was just ready to go home. So I went home feeling sick because I hadn't got answers, feeling annoyed, just wanting the pain to go away. And so the next day at 12 o'clock at night, I started crying again because I was in pain. this time it was the same. It was extremely bad, and mum was like, just have some pain meds, go to bed, because she had work the next day, and I felt really bad because I didn't really want to drive myself to hospital. And she's like, look, I'll just take you and we'll see what they say. The emergency room was much quieter. I walked in my dressing gown with a bowl to stop myself from vomiting. Not a bowl, a bag, like a sick bag. And I waddled in with mum. I'm in slippers, pajama pants, and a dressing gown. And the person at the hospital had the audacity to look over and annoyed because I stopped her chatting with her friend, and she's like, are you here to see a doctor? No, honey, I didn't come here at 12 o'clock at night looking like a hobo to just chill. I was so mad. I was so frustrated. I was like, no, you're kidding me right now. I'm just, oh. So I waited in the waiting room for about 10 minutes, and then we got a bed. I was put in the short stay side, and I was like, cool. And then I told him I had been in 2 nights ago. Here are my results. This is what they think is wrong with me. Honestly, I'm in pain. So they didn't do any more tests because they had tests from literally like the last day. They finally got the gyno team down. I saw the doctor walking past that saw me the other night, and I had a different doctor. This different doctor was like, look, we'll push to get the gynecologist team down, and they did. At about maybe 3 in the morning, the gynecologist team came in. I had pain medications. They checked me out. They asked me some questions. They were lovely. There was 2 of them. There was men and women, and I said I was on the waiting list. They looked me up. It took them 10 minutes to find me, and mum thinks that I was sort of lost in the system to see the gynecologist. And they said, look, we've put you as a priority. That's the best we could do. Hopefully someone will call you soon to book an appointment. They gave me strong painkillers and sent me home. And then I got a letter saying that this was the day and this was the time to see the gynecologist. And then my gynecologist appointment was, I think it was last week. Actually, yeah, it was last week on Wednesday. And she said, wow, like she couldn't believe how long I'd waited to see someone. She couldn't believe that I was in that much pain, and they didn't like think to call the gynecologist team down as like an emergency thing, because I said I was on morphine. I'd never been on morphine before, but I was. So she said, I put you as semi-urgent to have a laparoscopy, which is surgery to see if I do have endometriosis, because endometriosis was probably like, it's more common than you would actually think. And so she said, I can't put you as urgent, because urgent is if you have cancer or they think you're internally bleeding or something like that. And then she said, you'll probably get a call in 1 to 2 weeks to book your appointment, and then the max time you'll be waiting is 3 months. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so quick. She's like, yeah, you've been waiting a while. And I was like, yeah, I really have. And I went out and I was so happy with the results. And then I got a call Monday saying, hi Charlotte, this is, I can't remember her name, from the Angus Hospital, just calling to book an appointment, like time to have your surgery. Are you free this Friday? I was like, yeah. So today's Thursday and tomorrow is when I'm having my surgery. I am absolutely terrified, but it's gonna sort out some stuff. For those of you who don't know, endometriosis is when the lining of the uterus is somewhere other than inside the uterus. So when you bleed and are in pain, that's from when you have your period. But the same thing happens with the lining that's outside the uterus. So it can be around the ovaries, it can be higher up. I've heard of stories of it going around the bladder, which is really bad, and that causes the pain. That's why the pain is in different spots. So a laparoscopy is keyhole surgery. So they make a little slit and I'm going to have one camera going from like the top of my stomach going down, 2 cameras from the bottom going up to see where it is. If they can burn it off, they will. If they can't, they'll just leave it. They're also, I'm pretty sure they're going to remove the cysts from my ovaries and everything. So I'm going to schedule this video for a Saturday. So by the time you guys are watching this, I will have my surgery. I will most likely do, I can't promise anything, but I will most likely try and do a little vlog of my hospital day. My partner, for those of you who don't know, I am in a relationship again. I will make a video of that soon. My partner is, my partner is going to be taking me to the hospital. He's staying over tonight, and then tomorrow he'll be going to the hospital with me and making sure I'm okay, because Mum just started a new job and I don't want her to have to miss a day of work because it's only a 3rd week into a new job. I'm petrified. I'm literally so scared to have this surgery. I don't know why. It's a routine thing that a lot of doctors do, but I'm just so scared. I can't eat past 7 AM, so I'm gonna have to set my alarm for 6 and eat. I mean 6:30 and then eat, and then I can only have a cup of water, literally 250 mils of water before 11:30, which is when I have to check into the hospital for a afternoon surgery. So basically, like I said, by the time you're watching this, I will have had my surgery and I will let you guys know how it is. If you guys have endometriosis or know anyone with endometriosis or pox, leave a comment below. Give this video a like, because it's more common than you think. Also, if you have any crazy hospital stories or doctor stories of people not believing you or treating you terribly, please let me know, to let me know I'm not alone. But yeah. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and peace out, rock on, love you guys, see you in the next video. Mwah!